Hello and welcome to another episode of the Be Awesome at Facility Management, Be Awesome at FM podcast. I am one half of the host, Joshua Peach, and in the panel next to me, who's literally 3 feet away from me or less for the first time in a while, Mr. Paul Anastasi. Welcome.
Hey, this doesn't happen often that we get to sit in the same room.
It doesn't. We're breaking out the new owl camera, so anybody that's thinking this is really cool with the 360 panoramic view and the tiles opening up. It's a pretty cool piece of equipment here, and we'll welcome our guest of the hour, Executive Director of the Mass Facilities Administrators Association and NSPFA, past guest. But we're going to talk all things MFAA with Mr. Kenny Wertz.
Happy to be here. Thanks, boys. I do like how Paul's image behind his hair just makes it look like his big flowing head of hair. It's nice.
Yeah, it is kind of
I do.
Interesting
I like that.
thing there. Yeah,
it's a nice little.
At one point in my life, I did have big flowing
He's
hair.
always got something of added attention. He's always one up in everybody on these things.
More Paul.
Definitely more Paul. So listen, welcome back first and foremost.
Thank you for having me.
Make sure that we're able to answer questions. If you got questions, comments, definitely put them in. Whether you're listening to LinkedIn or YouTube, we will answer, address, welcome, and recognize. But let's dig in here, boys. And the three of us are in Massachusetts. And for those, they're both wearing Be Awesome shirts. We're in Canton, Massachusetts. We're at Kenny's Galactic headquarters. And Canton, Massachusetts has got, I don't want to play favorites, but I have to.
You have to.
I have to play a little bit.
I
gotta play a little bit of favorite. Blue Hills, Voc Tech in Canton, Massachusetts. I am a huge fan, advocate, raving fan of. Not only have I done some work with them over the last 20 years with our software, but was able and honored to speak to their faculty and staff last year. Kenny, you were in attendance, weren't you?
I was with Enzo the Wonder Dog.
Enzo the Wonder Dog, yeah. So they actually have Jill Rossetti, superintendent there, actually had her Labradoodle, I guess, is Enzo, and he's a therapy dog, and he walks the halls, and he was walking the stage as I was speaking last year. And my mother is a recent retiree of the school, but I love all the things that happen with Voc Tech schools, and they're just starting the new year here. So I put my Blue Hills quarter zip on and wear it proudly. So,
And for those hard, fast followers, our last podcast, we talked about that gap.
Absolutely. How do we fill the gap?
Trades? How do we fill it?
Yep.
Schools like Blue Hills are the ones that are going to help do it.
100%. I was actually looking to see if we could go over there to the Chateau Bleu for lunch, but it's not open yet.
No, it's too early in the season.
Too early
in the school year, but oh my God, they put on a wonderful spread. The food over there is amazing.
So this is good. I mean, this happened Friday. We did the impromptu. Was that Friday that we did the podcast with Burke or Thursday?
Thursday. Yeah.
So we did.
This Friday I brought you pizza.
That's right. Yes. Yeah. So Thursday we did the Chris Crockett with Burke Jones podcast, which was awesome.
All about Kansas.
Yeah. All things about Kansas. Kenny did bring me Villa Pizza to the studio. I was actually in the Eastern Community Access Channel studio for Be Awesome podcast. And Kenny brought pizza for me and our guests and for the folks in the cable studio. And we said, why don't we do something, all things Massachusetts, MFAA? And so here we are, 72 hours later, and we're going to talk Massachusetts. Paul, you got a history with MFAA.
Yeah, it's kind of a funny way of getting into an organization. I guess back in, I'm talking 92, 93 maybe. They did a let's get more members rush.
Yeah.
And it was call your neighbor. If you worked in Waltham, call the guy in Watertown. If you worked in Belmont, call the guy next door. Well, my neighbor in Belmont, Bob Martin.
Oh, yeah.
Gave me a call and he said, I know you're in Watertown. He said, you need to come to a meeting. He said, I'll pick you up next Thursday. And we go down to Pippinell's in Franklin.
Oh, yeah.
The old Pippinell's. He says, and you'll meet the gang. And so I went down and it was a nice meeting. Probably 16, 18 people. And then as I got more into it with the group, he said, you got to come down to the Cape Conference. You
Mm.
got to get out on the Cape. And I said, oh boy, here we go. A conference with a bunch of guys that are going away, and I'm going to end up on a golf course. I can't stand golf.
Yeah.
So Bob said, don't forget to bring your fishing rods.
Yeah.
I said, now you're talking.
Now you're talking.
Yeah.
Now, yeah.
So Bob and I would hook up down at the Cape, go to the canal, do a little striper fishing. Earlier that we'd go down a little earlier in the conference, and then we would start our conference from there. And the funny thing is that was like for 3 years. I saw Bob at the conference. Never saw him again in another monthly meeting.
Yeah.
Saw him at the conference 3 years, and then last I heard, he had retired, moved to Florida, and is a captain of a boat that's going out fishing in St. Petersburg.
Yeah. Didn't he have like a custom battery operated kayak?
Yeah.
He built kayaks. He took a regular kayak and built I actually got to use one day in the Joppa Flats in Newburyport. And it was the coolest design. You sit and you steer with your feet.
Yeah.
And you just put it into gear, and it goes quietly, and you have your hands free to fish.
Yeah.
And he just thought of everything. It was perfect. He actually had one of those racks on his car that you don't have to reach up to the roof.
Yeah.
The kayak comes down over the side.
Yeah.
And then you take the kayak off, and it's at chest level when you're taking it off. So
what he didn't think of is when he hooked onto a big fish, he had a little bit of a Nantucket sleigh ride where his little kayak was getting dragged all around by Deer Island. Yeah.
And there's a story that goes up there in the Joppa Flats. It's so shallow that the bigger boats can't get in there. And there's some big stripers.
Yeah.
So the story is, I'm not sure if it was a friend of his or someone that he just met fishing up in that area. Hooked. Now, anyone that knows Newburyport, one side is Massachusetts, the other side is New Hampshire. This guy hooked a big striper, a record striper, but he was sharp enough to know the record in Mass was too big for the striper that he had, and he steered the kayak across the Joppa Flats to the New Hampshire side and landed it on the New Hampshire side to break the record.
There you go.
So that was Bob Martin.
It's funny you say that, because I'll share my history, and then Kenny will get into the current state of affairs.
Mm-hmm.
But my history goes back to 1997, where they had a conference in the spring, probably to fund a lot of the fall festivities in the Cape. But we had they had a vendor conference where it was in Stonehill. I can't remember the building, but basically it was a rectangle. A rectangle, a round space that all the vendors were at, and it was like a parade. Yep. Like everybody walked around, and then everybody had like a minute. Every vendor had a minute to say, what you did and how you did it. And so I did that in 97. I think I did it in 98 when I was with the first software company. I was with ACT, and then I left, and I came back in 04, and I'll never forget it. It was the fall conference of 05. I drove Jim Vicker, who came up from South Carolina to speak.
He was our first paid keynote.
Yeah. And I drove him down, and
that was big for us to pay a keynote.
Oh my God. I almost broke the board at the time. Like, we're going to pay money?
Yeah. And it was funny because I brought Vicker down, and he says, "Oh, so, how long are you staying?" I said, "I'm dropping you off." And he's like, "What?" And I said, "They don't have vendors here, and I haven't gotten in with some of these folks, and some of them aren't too happy with me." And he couldn't believe it. And I pulled in, and everybody was walking out at the same time, and he experienced some of where I was considered probably a overbearing, pushy salesman at the time. And I don't even think I stopped the car. I think it was still 5 miles. See you, Jim. Yeah.
You were young.
Oh yeah.
You were in your 20s.
Oh yeah.
But he experienced some of our dysfunction.
Oh yeah, for sure.
As an organization, at that time it wasn't so young, but it was small.
It was in its infancy as far as development of program. It was around a while, but that night, so for whatever reason, I didn't go right home. Maybe I told my house that I was thought I was a big deal and I was staying out there. I can't remember what it was, but I stayed in the area until after Vicker spoke and everything else, because he was spending a night or two down there with you guys. And you told me, I don't know if you remember this, but you said, why don't you come down to the canal if you're still down here? And it was probably 7 or 8 o'clock at night. Everything was over with the event. And you and Bob Martin were on the canal fishing.
And it was Joe Pianadosi.
Joe Pianadosi, that's right.
Okay.
Joe and Pete was there too. That's right. And I just sat there while you guys fished. You're like, why aren't you fishing? Like, if it ain't called catching, I don't want to do it. But I just sat there, and you guys gave me like some pretty powerful life learning lessons in that hour or so that I sat by the canal. And you guys just hung out and just kind of talked about, different aspects of your work and, sharing stories and best practices while you were fishing. And I'm sitting here going, how does this all work? And it's one of those things where there's power in peer-to-peer networking.
Absolutely.
Whatever you do, if you put like-minded individuals doing similar tasks on their islands known as their districts, put them in a space for any amount of time, and they're going to start sharing, their stories, good, bad, and ugly. And that was a huge learning experience for me and memorable for me. But that was 2005. Here we are, 17 plus years, 18 years later. 18 years later.
TikTok, buddy.
18 years later. And now we've got this thing called an executive director. Mm-hmm. You've got an amazing amount of professional development that you just finished, right? It just seems like it was a blink of the eye. As the summertime, you're doing all these custodial trainings, and now we're around the bend for your upcoming fall conference.
You guys have kids, and I have grandkids.
Yeah, right.
In that span of time.
In that span of time, yeah.
And remember the early days, we hung around in those small breakout rooms at the Cape, and then we'd sit in a room at lunchtime and order Domino's delivery.
That's all it was.
And that was our event. It was amazing. But now, look at us now.
Yeah.
Now look at us at the DCU trying to figure out how to make it all work.
Yeah. So let's
still trying to keep those intimate moments, those conversations, that collegiality.
Mm-hmm.
And I always say this, that the breakout sessions are awesome. You need to learn.
Yeah.
So we try to bring a lot of content. We try to bring a lot of information. And as you both know, our industry struggles with giving our members opportunities to learn soft skills as administrators, how to have hard conversations with a struggling employee, how to do employee evaluations, leadership training. We can go learn about roofs till we're blue in the face. I mean, there's always something out there that we can learn.
Yeah.
But we do a lot of that. But it's seeing the seasoned veterans talking with the new people coming in.
Right. Yeah.
You mentoring Z, us having conversations with Z. You have Gretchen up in Pioneer Valley, who's amazing. She's working with Ed Sanadella. It's all this crossover that we used to be them.
Right.
The deer in the headlights person walking into this event like, my God, I have no idea why I'm doing this.
Yeah.
Why am I a public servant pulling my hair out? But thank God all these other freaks in this room are doing the same thing.
Yeah, and I made a comment at the last podcast with Burke that it's therapy. If nothing else, it's good therapy to sit there and talk with other people, especially if you're a younger guy coming in, to know that you're not alone. You don't have to reinvent the wheel every time you need to do something.
Yeah,
someone's done it. Put it out on the website. The website was huge.
Yeah.
When I started as a secretary back then, I used to lick and stamp.
Oh man!
I don't know how many letters and send out the minutes as a secretary.
Yeah. And
I was at the tail end of my term as secretary when we started to go to email, and it just freaked people out.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. By the time I was done as my role of secretary, I had finally won people over to the fact that we're no longer mailing envelopes.
Right.
I think we had sent a couple to our retired members who didn't have email because email was still pretty new for them.
Yeah.
But I'm like, no, we're not doing this anymore. Well, what if I don't get an email? I'm like, you need to check your email. I don't know what to tell you. Everyone's shifting over to digital. And
then we went from that email communication to a website.
Yeah.
That was your doing.
Yeah. And a listserv.
To bring the website, the listserv, so people could communicate and didn't have to be in-person members.
Right.
Didn't have to come to every meeting because everybody's busy and it's not easy to get to a meeting all the time.
Well, I think it's one of those things that we've had to adapt to, that I see anyway. And Paul, you saw me ask the question from the morning in California where I said, how many of you sat with the same people you sat with the last 10 times you were here? And I think a lot of history with regard to all aspects in education is, that comfort, that security blanket. And I think that with how fast the world is moving, the technology that is out there in the world, and just how the role of a facility manager in education specifically has shifted, and the workload, the scope of work has gone from this to a book, right?
Yeah.
You need to have a bigger table. And I think that that's one of the things that I would really applaud, all the things that all of you guys did over the last, handful of years. Cause it wasn't like, oh shoot, we got to do this. It was forward thinking of like, hey, we're going to need to have an easier way to communicate. We're going to need to digitize and streamline, because we only have one paid employee and you can't be licking stamps all day.
But just to clarify, for those that missed the last podcast, when he kind of like pulled, it was kind of like fishing, actually. The bait was out, the hook was there. He said, you want to go to California? I said, absolutely. And I got off the plane looking for palm trees.
Yeah.
But California, Missouri is a wonderful place. Don't get me wrong. Yeah. But there were no palm trees.
Yeah.
Is that when you went to the Big Biscuit and had breakfast?
That was
that was
St. Charles.
St. Charles.
Okay.
St. Charles.
St. Charles. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bobby Schaubs is on another
Hey,
Voc Tech
Thank
School.
God
This
for
is
that.
second podcast in a row that he's listening in with us. So welcome, Bobby. Don't know if you heard, but I did give Blue Hills a little bit of a favorite plug. But I'll tell you what, you guys are on that list too. Assabet, I've been a fan of theirs for many years. I spoke there for the first time. They get some good folks over there. So and Bobby's an MFAA. He's on the board.
He's on the board.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. You guys have had you've had a year of board changes. So you have some seats open coming up?
We do. So we've had several. I mean, like every industry, people are struggling to figure out what's the right industry for them. So some of our board members have decided that working for the public sector just wasn't the best for them, for their families. So they're kind of shifting gears and moving and doing great things. And I wish them all the best. I still keep in contact with them, but in doing so, we've had some board changes, because to be on the board, you need to be a member, an active member, and an active member is a public employee.
Yeah.
So we currently have another seat open again, because Scott Karpowski from Hudson is actually going back to private sector as well. Christina Renaud from Plymouth shifted back. Scott shifted back. So we're having we're having some opportunities.
Turnover.
We're having some opportunities for some people to maybe figure out. And what I try to explain is, both Paul and I served on the board, secretary, vice president, president, past president, all that stuff, special teams.
Yeah.
I always got more from serving the association than the association got from my service.
Mm-hmm. I
always learned more. I always grew more as a professional. I always grew more as a person. It was so worthwhile that anytime I spent serving, paid back tenfold.
Yep.
Which is a hard thing to get your head around when you're looking at, I'm going to serve on a board. What does that mean? Like, it means you're going to have to do a little extra work. It means you're going to have to be on a call once a month.
Yeah.
It means you're going to have to roll up your sleeves and, sometimes make some hard decisions, sometimes make some easy ones, but it's going to be more than just showing up to a meeting.
Right.
And that's okay.
And it's exciting for me to see what the future brings.
Yeah.
I mean, look at us. We're talking about, we went to email minutes, and then we did a website. And then in my presidency, we started chapters.
Yeah.
We decided, we got together. So what do we need? Well, people can't all come to, Metro Boston for a meeting every month.
For a lunch and learn.
Yeah. So let's break it up across the state. And I remember the first Thursday that we had 4 meetings going across the whole state. We called each other on the way home, because we went to different meetings, saying we just had 4 chapter meetings running at once.
Yeah. And
That's
it's like,
pretty
oh,
cool.
we only had 16 people. I said, yeah, you had 16 people in West. You had another 20 people in Worcester. You had 14 people. I said, we had 60 people at our
Yeah,
meeting.
we had the most attendance that we've ever
We
had.
had the most attendance. Like, and last year, one of our chapter meetings, Ryan Monks held it up at North Essex.
Yeah.
We got the tour of the facility. You know, we had a great lunch, good roundtable. It was a small group, but that gives you that time to really connect with folks.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
And I'm excited to see what's coming.
Yeah.
What's coming next. It's time for the old racehorses to be put out to pasture and watch the other guys run around in the on the track.
Slow down. Slow down. We're keeping you around a while more, Paul.
I got them special teams. That's what I do.
Special teams.
I have a whole special subgroup of special teams that it's like, all right, I know they don't have enough time to serve on the board, but if there's a subcommittee that comes up that needs to talk about capital planning, I immediately text Joe McDonough and Wellesley, who's an active MFAA member, that I'm like, Joe, I need someone to go talk to MSBA about capital planning. Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what I do with Paul. I'm like, Paul, I need someone to help. Yep. Okay. Got it. Wayne Miller. Yeah. One of our, past brother. Yep. Okay. What do you need? I need registration. I need pens to write on, whiteboards. Okay.
Or even locations. If something's happening closer to the Cape, Wayne's there. And things like that. And the western part of the state, we know we can lean on Ed Senandella.
Yeah, and now Ed Senandella, former, past president of the association too, recently retired. He is cross-training Eric LeBeau from Belchertown. So Eric has taken over the Western chapter. Yeah. So we're starting to see
fast Eddie.
Yeah. But we're starting to see a better job of us planning more than just day to day.
Right.
Yeah.
We're looking 5 years out. We're looking 10 years out. I mean, we keep growing as an association, which is great. So these are all good problems we're having that we're.
It wouldn't be an episode if there wasn't somebody telling Paul, we need more Paul. And of course it's Keith on your board.
Yeah.
And he says the new people need the ones that have been around. No exit allowed, Paul.
Mm-hmm.
I get it.
I can't.
Got it, Keith.
I can't.
That's another one. No exit allowed, Paul.
Yeah. Right. No exit allowed. More Paul.
Yeah. More Paul.
And Scott Carpenter, you guys are awesome and look forward to the bright future of MFAA. Well, we are too. That's going to be, appreciate Carp coming in and saying that. And I know Carp's coming up. So
yes, he is.
Carp is
put him to work.
I mean, you talk about, bringing things forward. You guys back then, when we all first met, you were trying to sell a software that was in a cloud.
Yes.
Like we were saying, where is this cloud? We're fix-it guys. We hold a hammer and a wrench.
You were hung up on the fact that where's my stuff?
Where's my stuff,
Where's
Bob?
my stuff?
Bobby B, I want to know where my
Where's
stuff
my
is.
stuff, man?
It's in a cloud, and I kept looking up and saying, it's a sunny day. I don't know where they're putting my stuff. I need my stuff.
You were actually one of our first event sponsors.
I was the first event sponsor.
Yeah.
We could say it was intentional.
Kinda.
What? Wait, no. Was it the propeller? Was that the first one?
No.
The prop sponsor.
No.
That was later on.
That was later on. Okay.
We were at a president's reception at one of the older hotels down the Cape.
Oh, yeah.
And you were just hanging around.
Yes.
And we were all at the bar having a couple of drinks. And then you said, I got this. And you covered the tab. We're like, what are you doing? He's like, no, I got this. I'm going to sponsor
and
this.
So it might have been unintentional.
And I left.
and you left. And everyone looked at each other like, oh.
Yeah.
That was kind of nice.
I think
maybe we should invite these people to more events.
Yeah,
I think the bartender says, "Who's got this?" And we all backed up.
No,
Right?
I think I remember it. I think Leo was with me. I think it was 2000. It was at the Seacrest.
Yeah.
I remember it was in that area that's right over by the water.
Yep.
And you guys invited me. I can't remember how I got invited, but I went down for the day, and you guys had the night thing. You're right. And I gave the bartender my credit card. And I said it was all set, and I left. And everyone's like, "Where are you going?"
We went to go stare at the tab.
I was like, "I'll come back." And I told the bartender, "I'm like, I'll come back for my card in a couple hours.
Yeah,
just put whatever everybody wants on it." And I left, and I went. I can't down or something. I got my card. I think you guys ordered a bunch of waters and some orange juice, which was relatively inexpensive, so I got off easy.
Maybe one plate of nachos.
And we just touched on it, the prop sponsor.
Yeah.
I mean, at most of our events, in the conferences, we have a fun day. We do something early in the conference that's fun, whether it be fishing, sometimes golf, Well, we decided we were in, where were we? In
Western Mass.
Western Mass,
Yeah.
out in, not Stockbridge, that was
Pittsfield.
Pittsfield, Mass. And I was in charge of the fun day.
Yeah.
So I decided that we would rent a pontoon boat and take as many members as we could fit out fishing for the afternoon on a lake.
Yep.
And when I got the contract and everything for the pontoon boat, it was very specific. We could use our credit card to book the boat, the deposit, but there was a $250 cash deposit for the prop, which I thought was kind of funny. I mean, I've never heard of a cash deposit for a prop. So anyway, we get there to rent the boat, and we all get on. I sign the contract. I'm talking to the guy. He hands me a very detailed map of the lake with red lines. He says, stay in the red lines. Those are the deep areas of the pond. And I said, okay. Still, I dished over $250 in cash for the prop.
Can I just say that we left the dock and it was high tide on the lake?
Yes, it was.
So we go cross lake, and I drive off because my name's on the contract. And then shortly when I get out of sight, we all take turns driving the pontoon boat because that's fun.
Yeah.
And at one point we were looking for fish, and everybody saw fish in a different direction.
Yeah. Admiral Peach was at the helm.
Admiral Peach was at the helm, and everybody pointed a different way. There's fish over there jumping. I see fish over there. Go this way. Go that way.
And the lake map was laminated, and it looked like it was a place setting at the diner downtown. So
Right.
it was really tough, especially if you're holding it upside down to know where the shallow water and the deep
And so
water
that
is.
red line went out the window. It happened. Boom. That's done. Anyone that's ever run aground anywhere in a boat,
Yeah.
you know that feeling. We bounced it off the little sandbar that we were on. We went forward and it shook a little, and we couldn't get back up to speed. So we finished our afternoon, and we're coming back into the marina, and now it's like, what are we going to do? And I says, there's only one thing to do. I said, I got to tell the guy. I mean, he was very specific about the prop. I think that's going to be one of the first things that he looks for when we get back.
You don't even
And
have
someone
to.
says, no, just let's go. We just sign it and
We
go.
didn't catch any fish. And
Yeah.
the state police marine unit was
And the state police marine
getting his
unit
boat fixed there.
was out there. So we pull into the dock, and he comes out. He says, how'd you do? And he's looking at the cushions and checking off those to make sure they're not ripped or anything like that. And I said, good. He said, any problems? I said, well, I think we kind of dinged the prop a little. We might have bent it a little. So he says, oh, and he looks and he kind of smirks like this happens all the time. And he goes to the back, pulls up the engine, and there's our prop that I think it had 4 blades originally. I'm not sure, but it was kind of like
It's got 3 now.
3 and twisted. And so I said, I know that the 250 is out the window. He says, yeah. He says, sorry, I can't do anything else about it. He says, come on inside and we'll get the contract finalized and give you your receipts and everything. And I did that. And as I'm leaving, I said, hey, where's my prop? He said, what do you mean? I said, I paid $250 for that prop.
Yeah.
And I'm saying to myself, I know it. You can buy a prop for less than $250.
Right.
Yeah.
I said, I want my prop. If I paid for it, I want it. He says to the mechanic, go get the prop off that boat. The guy brings us the prop. And funny thing was the arbor of the prop on the inside was the exact same diameter as a can of beer.
Yep.
And so at our banquet, we presented Joshua Peach with the first annual prop sponsor.
Yeah.
And he sat there with his can of beer at the banquet in his prop koozie.
Yeah. That was funny. That was that happened the day before my oldest son's first day of kindergarten.
Yeah.
Because I drove out there because we took off at like 7:00 in the morning.
Yep.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
So I drove out there that morning. We went fishing. I wrecked the boat.
Yeah.
I was upset about it. Went back with you guys that night. Drove home. Went home that night. Went to my son's first day of kindergarten. Came back. Had no idea what you guys had planned. Sitting in that, it was at the top floor of the Pittsfield Hotel or whatever.
Yeah. It was beautiful.
Glass and areas looking out over the city.
And you guys present, and I told you I was going to pay for it and sponsor whatever you guys want. I think I said, whatever you guys want, just don't tell people how stupid I am or something. Oh yeah, no, good. Yep, no, prop sponsor, here you go.
And that was the catalyst for me coming up with the most ridiculous sponsor names that I could give you on
Yeah.
an invoice.
Oh yeah. Well,
I believe that was the start of one year you were the shark tooth sponsor.
yeah, harpoon sponsor. Where I actually
Harpoon.
I met a guy at a holiday and I bought a prop harpoon gun.
Yeah.
From him to solidify the sponsorship. But it was I had to go in and get approval for all these sponsorships, and it was like we couldn't do like diamond or gold or platinum. It had to be something that was like that would cause my marketing team to ask me questions and like question the validity of things. Oh no, I'm absolutely. I am the harpoon sponsor. Look what they gave me, and I had this
whaling harpoon,
and I hung it in the back of my house. I had this big whaling harpoon. But the funniest thing was I got that harpoon. I had it in my truck, and we went to the fishing boat. And people were like, you can't bring that thing on the boat. And we get out to sea, and our captain says,
Captain Mark
says, well, he's telling us all these stories. I'm like, hey, I got a harpoon, prop harpoon gun. He's like, why'd you bring a real one? I was like, what? I could have brought it. He goes, yeah, the only thing you can't bring is bananas. Like, can't bring bananas. He's like, yeah, bad luck.
No bananas on the boat.
Bananas.
So I guess the bottom line here is we've had a lot of fun over the years.
Oh my God.
At our conferences with our members.
Yeah.
We've gone past just the member thing and become friends, good friends with a lot of people.
Yeah.
And it's so worthwhile to be a member.
Yeah.
And come out to the conference and our meetings.
Well, let's talk about the conference. And before I do, Matt Oliver, who's back with a vengeance. It's like we called him out. It was like we called him out. It's like, hey, we haven't heard from you in a while, and here you are. But so Matt says, hi guys, this is amazing. I've learned so much from all three of you. Thank you, Matt. We love to learn and share with everybody, and always great. And Bobby says it's always great to hear these stories. Love to have Bobby on and tell the fishing story.
Oh, Jesus.
Did you ever get your new bell?
No, I did not.
Bobby, you owe Paul a bell.
Get after
Just
it, brother.
saying.
I got a new fishing rod because someone broke one of my fishing rods on that
Well,
same trip.
the fish was so big it snapped the rod. I don't know what to tell
The
you.
tree was so big.
No, it was the fish. It was totally the fish.
Yeah. No, but so yeah, Paul's right. The team at Operations Hero, which was a team at a previous, we worked together. Scott Carpenter, Pat Buchanan, and I. We live by a motto that is customers to clients, clients to friends, friends to family, and it's one of those things where when you genuinely care about what you do, you genuinely care about the people that you provide your service to, or you genuinely care about the people that are in your arena doing the same thing, then yeah, you should be friends. You should get along. You should be able to pick up the phone on a Sunday night and say, hey, let's do a podcast Monday morning. And people say, all right, let's do this. And to the point of you put something on a post on Friday on LinkedIn that was like, when Josh tells you you're going on a road trip, you don't ask questions. You just get in the car.
You just get and go.
Yeah, you just get and go. And I think, for those that have been, because there's a lot of people in MFAA that are in that, used to be for the longest time, people would go to the vendor area and they'd search out JP Mayo, right? JP Mayo had that relationship where he always would say, I don't care if you buy anything from me.
Right.
If I can help you, great. If not,
I just want to help.
I just want to help, and I just want to be friends with you.
Yeah.
But there's a long list of folks, members that have that family camaraderie, but in an effort to build the new blood coming in, they got to start somewhere, and that start somewhere comes with they can't come in and just out of the gate say, hey, you're my best friend and let's go here. They can, and they're welcomed, but I think that they need to get a taste of the professional development side of the house.
But that's the whole big picture.
Yeah.
And like what Paul was sharing with us, like when we first started, at the first event I went to, I was 26.
Yeah.
I'm talking, I was young. We were at the Soundings Resort.
The Soundings.
And the conference room was a storage room they had at the hotel where they stacked all their old mattresses behind us.
Yeah.
And
covered them with sheets.
We covered them with sheets because they were just there. We didn't have a projector screen. We hung a sheet to the wall. Ceiling tiles were stained and moldy and gross. And now I'm the young guy who says, hey, I'm going to bring in someone from the state to talk about indoor air quality as it relates to schools.
Yeah.
And the former, the guard, the founding fathers are like, we're actually going to learn something.
Yeah.
So I bring in someone from the state into this mold-ridden, stacked mattress conference room to portray ourselves like a professional association.
And talk about indoor air quality.
Yeah, it was very funny. And that was the beginning of the end of, the good old boys going out and just kind of doing our thing, which back in the day, I was one of them. It was all right. I used to go out and I still go out and have fun, but now it's focus on professionalism.
Well, let's take a step back on that. That was 20 plus years ago.
Yeah.
20 plus years ago, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but an operations facility manager, the director in public education 20 years ago, let's go 25 years ago. Let's go 1998, 1997. Windows 97 just came out. Pneumatic controls were still what everybody used.
Beepers.
LawnWorks and BACnet open protocol for control systems everything was still seemed like it was in proprietary silos. You had roofs, you had floors, you had in many cases heat and no air conditioning, especially in Massachusetts. You still have, because we had the heat last week, and you had tons of schools that were closed early because of the heat for back to school. So you had HVAC, typically H, no AC. You get plumbing, you get your electric. And that was, you basically maintained and managed that and made sure that everything was clean with the best cleaning practices.
And you throw down 5 coats of wax, whether it needed it or not.
Right. Now, today we've got blue cleaning, green cleaning, energy efficient, sustainability, gold standard, all these added things.
Carbon reduction. Right. Now we're chasing weather patterns. I mean, that's our biggest thing is resiliency, sustainability. We're having more hurricane force events on the eastern seaboard than we've had in 50 years, and they're happening more frequently. So how do we do our roofs?
Right.
Do we have protocols to bring in the trash barrels?
Yeah. In 25,
there's so many different things now. It's like, there's so much info.
And 25 years ago, never mind 25 years ago, 10 years ago, facility directors weren't brought to the table. They weren't brought to any table, right? They did their job. They provided a report. They made sure that everything turned off and on and that it worked. Today, I mean, I had a director of facilities for a 7,500 student school district that is looking to implement their work order software. And they said, hey, I've got to present this to my school board. And what are the best ways that I should address this and put together? But he had to put together an actual presentation.
Absolutely.
And so now you have, on top of all that stuff I just said, on top of all the stuff 25 years ago, now we got to do better with customer service. Now we got to do better with leadership. Now we got to do better with building teamwork. Now we got to do better with public speaking. That don't have a lot of that may not fall in the wheelhouse of people that have been around a while. So it's a much different environment from 25 years ago. You could have gone for a couple of days, gone off site, talked about these things, and you'd have a very limited scope. Right. And now it's like
so much bigger.
It's so much bigger.
And the role of knowing how to function in a political structure as well.
Yes.
The politics of every community is so vastly different. And if you think that you're not a politician, you're so wrong. You're selling yourself short.
Yep.
And I hate to pat me and you on the back, Ken, but you and I have been screaming from the rooftops for years. Look at the talks we've done. Wish you had asked. We asked to be at the table when they're doing school construction. How does facilities interact with your special ed department? Who would have put facilities and special ed together 30 years ago, 25 or 30 years ago?
The nuances of leading versus managing.
Leaders versus managing. Which one are you?
The importance of presenting and body language and how people
presenting to your board.
All those kind of things. It's all the soft skills, and that's some of the stuff that I'm thankful that we've kind of adjusted our content at like the fall conference for years, that we offer up tracks that people can stop in and learn what they need at that time.
Right. You
might need leadership. You may spend your whole day in the leadership track, or you say, you know what, I need to go into this one session that's about this year. We're about stop waiting till the last minute. Figure out how to set up a successful plan, so that way for you when transitioning out, you can get someone else in there.
Yeah.
But we're also learning about the Industry Reduction Act funds that are available for green energy programs.
Mhm.
So it's like, well, my community is looking to put in geothermal. I better go sit in that session.
Yeah.
So it's a good mix.
And people still need those state mandated hours of
the CEUs,
bloodborne
bloodborne
pathogens
pathogen,
and
right to nose.
stuff that's a standard. It has to be there.
And this year we're doing a Google Suite lab.
Mhm.
Because so many districts are using Google, and everyone's like, well, I don't know how to use Google. I know
Right.
how to use Microsoft. I'm like, well, they're very similar.
Yeah.
Well, I don't understand it. I'm like, okay, how can we fill that void?
You can put your Google email in an Outlook.
Whoa.
That's what I do. Yeah, you can. You can have it loaded in Outlook. It's
Look at
magical.
you.
Thanks, Pat.
Thanks, Pat. You're smart.
Yeah.
But it's things like that 10 years ago, we had a half day on Microsoft Office Suite.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because our members need that info.
Yeah.
Well, now where's the thing that people are struggling with? They're struggling with the Google platform.
Yeah.
Whether it's
What's
Google,
Christina doing her session on?
leadership.
Yeah.
But that's the Tuesday.
Yeah.
So those are some of the things. Like Tuesday morning, we're actually going to be off site. We're going to be at Harvey Industries, which is a single stream recycling center in Worcester. And they have a conference room there. So we're going to be doing leadership training in the morning. Paul and I are doing our favorite pick a fight with the audience.
Mhm.
Working with the entitled, or are we? And it's just talking about how older generations continually dump on millennials, and how we can kind of work around it and understand the nuances behind it. It's fun. Oh my God, we've had some good arguments in the classroom, but it's things like that provoke intelligent conversation.
Right.
And that's really what we try to structure. Is I don't want to phone it in. I don't want to go with a model of, we just use the same cadre of speakers that we've used every year.
Mhm.
And then it's the Paul and Ken show, or it's the Josh show. We try to rotate it in and try to get people in there, and we always target whatever the hot buttons are.
Yeah.
That's what's on our agenda.
Well, I think what makes YouTube specifically amazing at what you do is, and as you guys were talking about, as you said, I don't want to toot our own horns. I thought one of the most amazing talks that you guys did that I was blown away and couldn't believe that you did is outsourcing right for you.
Yeah, that was a great.
To public servant employee, director of facilities.
Yeah.
Because you were an executive director. I think you were still.
No, I was a volunteer.
You were,
I was just a
you were
board member.
you were a director of facilities at a school. You were a director, and you guys are sitting having a discussion where outsourcing your staff might be a good idea. And I was like, I can't. They're gonna get killed. The car's gonna get keyed.
I almost did.
Yeah.
And the first time he did it alone, he almost did get killed.
And I was just, but it was a dialogue to say, don't close your mind to anything. Everything's on the table. And you guys have stayed that course. Like you've had it so that you play both sides.
Yeah.
And it's actually this, it doesn't make sense for me, but it could make sense for somebody else. And let me at least have that, opposed to being so closed-minded that I'm going to tell everybody that's the wrong thing to do. And that's like all of your presentations. It's either bringing an awareness, like the working with the special education. I didn't know. I mean, I've been in this business a long time. I didn't realize a lot of those important pieces of the ceiling tiles. I mean, now anytime we walk into a building, I'm searching out ceiling tiles to see what I see.
Yeah.
And I never did that before. I mean,
you did it. You just didn't realize you
did.
did it.
Well, I saw pictures. I saw things.
Well, I think that's one of the unique things about us, as you say, is that we're not afraid to go out there and play both sides.
Yeah.
And play one against each other, knowing that at the end of the day, we're still friends.
Yeah.
Yep. And playing those roles in front of people who say, well, they really don't like each other, those two guys. Look at the way they are on stage.
Yeah.
And that's not the case at all. But we want to present both sides, because like you say, there's no one right answer.
Yeah.
No, and especially when that's something that has served us well over the years.
Yeah.
Because every community is so different.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
That you can't, like, people are always asking, what's the proper number for the cost of maintenance per square foot of a building?
Yeah.
I'm like, I can't give you a number. I can give you a really broad range. Like right now in Massachusetts, it's anywhere from $8 to $15 a square foot.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't help you.
Yeah.
You need to know your buildings. You need to know your own budget. You need to know the pinch points in your community. And that's how you need to narrow it down. Benchmarking against other communities is great.
Yeah.
But what if one community, every building has been renovated since 2012 and your buildings were done in the 50s?
Right.
What are you benchmarking?
Same thing with new construction. People
Yeah.
are asking that question. Well, what's your cost per square foot? Well, we're getting what, 800s now?
Mhm.
Was $1,000 bucks a square
So we got
foot.
$1,000. I just saw 1,200 for a fire station in
Yeah.
one community.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, but and
Which
not everybody's going to look for that fire station.
which was
Right.
unheard of. And I still remember I was at a green construction program at Northeastern University here just outside of Boston, probably 15 years ago. And they had just built a brand new state-of-the-art science facility. And it was $1,250 a square foot.
Yeah.
And everyone's jaw hit the floor like,
Yeah.
what? Oh my God, that's impossible.
Yeah.
Look at
Fast
that now.
forward, now it's like, to build an elementary school,
Yeah.
it's $1,000 a square foot.
Right.
Right.
And that's just a standard a modern elementary school
Yeah.
that has the base bells and whistles,
Mhm.
air conditioned or conditioned air, however you want to describe it. But it's not flashy with titanium panels and all
Yeah.
this kind of weird stuff. It's just a building.
And I just want to say that back in the day, Newton was on the cutting edge.
Hashtag boomer.
Back in the day,
Back in my day.
2010,
Yeah.
we built the Taj Mahal, and
Yeah.
we were on top of the world. We were the cutting edge. Everyone else was following us now.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
And that's what we find at these events is, and I always say it, we try to bring the best professional development we can to the table.
Yeah.
And you can learn a lot from those sessions. But the magic really happens after 4:00.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's when you get into those conversations. And it's amazing how a bunch of facilities folks can sit for hours and talk philosophy and talk politics. We can talk whatever is the most current topic. We don't all agree, but we're all like-minded. We're all
Yeah.
building geeks.
Yeah.
So we
Yeah.
all get each other. The rest of the world doesn't.
No.
We're a square peg in the round hole. But when you're there, you're with a whole bunch of other square pegs,
Yep.
which is kind of cool. And that's part of the reason why I took on the role with the national group as well is I like to go to these events.
Mhm.
We're going to Missouri in a couple of weeks, and we're going to hang out with 500 fellow building geeks.
Yep.
Then a week later, I'm going with Pat, and we're going out to Scott Little's event in Michigan. I get to go spend a handful of days with 700 fellow building geeks. Every time we travel somewhere,
Yeah.
we're immediately surrounded by 700 best new friends.
Mhm.
And another one of those bait and switch things where they told us when we went to Michigan, we were going to a ski mountain. Okay, folks, it was 3 chairlifts out there on the
It's a big
cable from
resort.
top to bottom.
It's a big resort.
I told them, that's a big resort out there,
Yeah.
but that's not a ski mountain in my
Yeah, it's
opinion.
not a mountain.
I'll tell you right now. I went from there to Vail
Yeah.
one year, and while they didn't have the altitude, the resort portion, the condos and the
Yeah.
lodge and everything
Yeah.
for that place in Michigan,
It was super.
It's incredible.
it is the. I mean, I go there. I go there for
Facility was
I'd go there for the facilities and the base.
Yeah.
I might go sledding.
Yes,
I-
we did.
I-
I got a picture of me
Yeah,
here in the
I
sled.
looked high and low in Massachusetts. There's nowhere in the Northeast that's replicable to that kind of vibe.
No.
That being said, we have, we've bumped around for years, and as we've grown, we did the regionals, right? So we had our fall conference in Pittsfield, and then we went to the North Shore in Beverly, and we went back to Hyannis, and then we kind of moved it around because we weren't as large at the time. But then as it kept evolving, it's like, okay, we need to get central.
Yeah.
And having it at the DCU Center and having it in Worcester, especially the new Worcester,
Yeah.
that's evolved over the past 15, and even a short time, 15 years.
Yeah.
Worcester was
Oh,
great.
if you haven't been to Worcester in 5 years,
Yeah.
the whole DCU Center. I mean, some of the best places to eat.
It's
As far as every time I go there, I go and try some new spot, some of these old diners and things that they still have. But as far as the facility itself is amazing.
Yeah.
It's got parking garage across the street, so if you don't stay in town, but downtown, very safe. It's a small city.
It created a
It's-
beautiful
oh,
walking
yeah,
area
whole-
that you
yeah,
can
whole
walk for
space.
blocks.
and what we found last year, was that the folks who were too jammed up or couldn't do a 3-day,
Yep.
it's easier for them to do a 1-day.
Yep.
So that's the thing to remember with the event being it's centrally located. Yeah, for some of the people that are in the outskirts, if you're in Adams, it's a 2.5-hour drive. If you're in, the Falmouth, it's pretty far. But you're getting 8 to 12 hours of professional development. You're getting 100 people who are vendor sponsors who are working directly in our industry.
Yeah.
And as corny as it sounds, I'm going to have a little dad moment here. I was really proud of our MFAA members last year. Anytime I walked the floor, looking down all the aisles with all the vendors, all of our members were talking and having conversations.
Right.
It used to be, and that's by, it's taken a long time to get there. Our industry, for some reason, we always had, and because you've lived it, it's like, we're here, you're there. Oh, that's a salesperson. You're the enemy. I don't want to talk to you. But we've embraced the philosophy that every vendor, every partner that's on the floor is a partner. If they don't provide you the goods and services that you need, your district will fail. They're part of your team.
Right.
Treat them accordingly.
Yeah.
And the people that we bring to the floor are people that we consider partners. It's not just a cash grab.
Right.
It's a selected list. Granted, it's a big list, but we select people that are working with our members, people that are on the state contract.
Well, that was a requirement at one point. I don't know if it still is.
It still is, kind of. So we've narrowed it down that we went regional with it.
Yeah.
So our first goal is to have someone that's working with a member or working with a state agency in Massachusetts. That's an easy one. That's a check the box, right? Then if they're a new person trying to get into the industry, are you working with other similar agencies in the Northeast? Are you working in New Hampshire? Are you working in Maine, Vermont, Rhode Island, wherever, New York? Are you at least working in our geographic area? Because we have some nuances up here that don't correlate with someone whose territory is Austin. They just don't. They don't get us. And it's not that they can't learn us. And it's not just the building specific. Personalities up here are different.
Right.
So someone that's not used to dealing with the directness of someone from Boston, like, wow, you're kind of mean. I'm like, no, I don't have time to be mean. I'm just being direct. We need to get moving. I need it fast. Oh, you need to slow down. Let's have no. And so it's a different cadence here.
You have a code of conduct too, responsibility.
We have a code of conduct. We've implemented a lot of.
It's not just people throwing. This is kind of the double-edged sort of looking at it. It's like you have vendors that just put money in something, and they show up and they have an expectation, and then you have your attendees that are saying, "I don't want to be involved." And you have a nice formula where it's we're going to welcome your support financially, but we're also going to provide you with a captive audience, and that's. When you talk about events from the vendor standpoint, I go to events where it's 10-1, meaning 10 attendees to one vendor, and it's a ghost town. Like there's nothing going on there. And if I wasn't doing the stuff that I do, my secret sauce, if you will, I would be one of those angry vendors going, well, I came here and I spent all this money and I got nothing out of it. And you guys are like 2-1, maybe 3-1 at 2 to 3 to 1, but there's more activity and there's more participation. There's more genuine interest, exploratory interest to talk to all the vendors, not just going and talking to the JP Mayos or the Josh Beaches. It's let me go see all the vendors that are there. Let me see what's going on, what's out there. Like with the COVID, the year after COVID, I mean, you had that was the freshest air. That was the freshest air of any event I had ever been to.
Yeah, we did. I did the indoor air quality sponsor. It didn't cost any money to the sponsors, and any person that was a vendor that was in the indoor air quality industry at the time was given an opportunity to bring their equipment and scrub the air. So Service Master by Gilmore, perfect example. So we have an expo floor. They brought in their giant HEPA air movers that they use to dry out water damage. We were getting like 50 air changes per hour. It's the cleanest that building has ever been. But it was just So what we try to do is we try to create an environment where people feel safe. Because if you don't feel safe, if you don't feel welcomed, you're not going to learn because you're always going to be kind of a little bit off. So we work really hard at that intentionally to make sure, if you see someone new walk in, someone better go say hi, shake their hand, figure out what's going on.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's all encompassing. I mean, that's their job, right? For the in school district, best work, feel safe. They have a good environment in which they work in, and that's your job.
And they need to feel that everyone's approachable.
Yeah.
We used to be extremely cliquey.
Right.
Like all the same, like you said, the same 10 people go sit at the same table every event and never talk to other people. Now it's like, nope, you 10 people can never sit together. You'll have plenty of time to sit together if you guys want to go out after work and go have a pint or go do whatever, go fishing down the canal. You'll have plenty of time. Take the time now and go let these new
talk
people.
To everybody.
Absolutely.
Now, if you ever wanted to know what it's like when Paul, Ken, and I hang out, this is it. Like we cover. So we were going to talk about just the MFAA conference that's coming up next month.
Register.
We've spent
hour
56 minutes talking shop stories and everything in between, with about 3 minutes, which is really good, specific to the upcoming conference.
Yeah.
And for the sake of trying to keep these under an hour, which we have yet to be able to do, Paul,
I know.
I want to get to these comments, and then I want to get down to the details of this coming conference, because we do want to make sure we get people the registration info, what if they can only come for one day, how do they break down which day they should come? They can come for 2 days, which should the 2 days be, etc. But first, David Gallego, I feel bad for this. I got to share them all. It's public.
David, just come on over.
David, come on over.
5 minutes away, dude.
David, come over here. You're 4 minutes away, and I'll give you the shirt off my back. He says, like the Blue Hills jacket, I work here and don't have one. who you know, I guess. You're right. It is who I know. I stole this from my mother before she retired. No, this was a nice gift that I received last year when I came and spoke. And I'll put a word in for you. Maybe we can see if we can get you one for the MFAA conference. Matt Oliver had to leave. He had to go clean up lunch, but I'll listen to the rest later. And then Keith Baldinger, you guys are great. I'll finish watching later. Thanks for all you guys do for the facilities world. Thank you. Thank you all for commenting, questions, and everything else. That's what makes these live episodes fun. But let's get down to brass tacks. Let's talk about this event. It's Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday.
Yes.
October 17th to the 19th.
Correct.
Only reason why I know that is I'm flying red-eye flight from California to get there for the 17th. So who's coming to the 17th? What's happening on the 17th? Let's break down the days.
All right. So let's back up. And I'll go quick through it. So last year was our first year that we tried to partner with MASBO.
Yeah.
And we're still great partners with MASBO, but at the end of the day, the event didn't align necessarily with their culture of their association. They're not big fans of talking to vendors.
Yeah.
That's okay. So realizing our shortcomings and realizing what was the best fit, we decided to bring it back in-house.
Yeah.
So this is just an MFA event. MASBO will be invited, MAPA will be invited, MAFMA, all the acronyms out there will be invited, of course, but we're back to being sole control of this event, which provides me more flexibility to do some of the cool stuff that we've done historically in the past that got kind of bound up a little bit when you're in a committee.
Yep.
So we've shrunk the number of sessions because last year there were too many, is what we found. And this year, Tuesday, we're going to be off-site, like I mentioned earlier, a full morning of leadership. We'll have breakfast and lunch, that kind of stuff. Then we're going to do a facilities tour of Harvey Industries single stream, so that way you can have a better understanding of your recycling programs in your schools. So we were with someone, I forget what school I was in. I won't call them out because it was horrible. I said, do you do recycling? They said, yeah, single stream. Everything goes in the trash. And I'm like, come on, man, that's not cool.
Yeah.
So we're going to do that. And then we're doing something new. We're going to follow the New Jersey model. Tuesday evening, we're actually opening up the expo floor for beverages, for hors d'oeuvres, for food stations and whatnot for 3 hours. So people can actually walk it in a little more casual vibe, hang out Tuesday night. Then Wednesday is the full day at the DCU, a kickoff address in the morning, expo most of the morning, dedicated expo time, lunch, and then we're doing all of our breakout sessions in the afternoon.
Yep.
And then the evening banquet dinner, we always have a banquet dinner, and I'm a big proponent for bizcation, part business, part vacation.
Yep.
So I think this year I'm going to try and bring back casino night, which is always fun. where you gamble for funny money and then you cash it in for raffle tickets and you can, win little tokens.
Mhm.
That's always a good time. And then Thursday is general session in the morning. And we're going to have Greg Lookabaugh in from Texas. And I think his lovely wife, Jackie, may be joining him as well.
Oh,
awesome.
cool.
Which I'm trying to have Jackie do a session on learning our customers from a teacher's perspective.
Yeah.
Which will be really, really cool. So
That's a dynamic duo right there. That's
power
yeah.
couple. Power couple.
They are a power couple. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of really, Mary DeLay, a friend of the association, has set up our green track, our sustainable carbon reduction track. So
she's awesome.
When Paul says the grid's not ready, the grid's not ready.
The grid's not ready.
We have the grid doing a presentation talking about the steps they're taking to make sure they're ready.
I can't wait.
You want to moderate that session with Mary?
I can't wait.
Yeah.
Liars, everybody
They're not ready.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of leadership. There's a lot of nuts and bolts cleaning. We've got the Google Lab set up, and the registration page will be up this afternoon. I plan on having it up this morning, but I got sidetracked by someone wanting to do a podcast, so my schedule got thrown off a little bit. See how you are?
Look,
the vendor registration's up. So we do have a handful of booths left. So if you're someone that's listening in on this, that's interested, please go to our website, take a look at it, massfacilities.com, click on the events page. It's been nice that, like to your point earlier, the ratio and the number, we don't have big numbers.
Yeah.
I don't want secretaries and second cousins and teenagers who are on break coming to take your coffee mugs. That's of no value to anyone. So the people that we target and the people that we bring to this event are decision makers. It's always been that way. So for the vendors that want an event that's 5,000 people.
Yeah, this isn't it. Yeah.
And every year we've had a waiting list. We always sell out.
Yeah.
And it's funny that I'll go talk to people like, foot traffic was usual.
Yeah.
So I've got 12 meetings next week.
Yeah.
So even though, the numbers don't look massive, you have 12 on-sites coming from a 3-hour conference.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this podcast isn't even so much for vendors because say you have a wait list and you only have a handful of booths left. It's the attendees, making sure your attendees are aware. You can send this podcast out to all your members and hope that they listen to it.
And I'll say to the attendees the same thing I tell people that say they're too busy to get out of their office. My question is this, and if you can answer it, I think that'll give you your own answer. Does your school district cancel school if you call in sick? Well, Mary, our facilities director, is not in today. We got to cancel school. Doesn't happen.
They didn't even cancel school when I retired.
Right? So if you think you're too busy,
I would
have. We should have had that be a national holiday.
Well, you retired. Well, I mean, wasn't your retirement January 1st?
Yeah.
So it was, you set it up so it was closed because you knew they wouldn't close
It was
school.
closed for a week.
Yeah.
Actually.
Yeah. It was
See?
I knew they wouldn't do it. I had a plan.
Yeah.
It was the more Paulathon.
Yeah.
But if you think that you're too busy to get out of your office, just remember that they do not close when you're sick. They do not close when you're on vacation. Yeah. They'll be okay. You've got a cell phone.
Yeah.
They'll track you down.
Yeah.
And my recommendation is when you're at this event during a class, don't answer your phone. Don't look at your emails. Pay attention. Be present. Be mindful. Once you get out of the class, you can certainly make a call.
And you'll find out if you don't answer the phone right away, they figure it out.
They usually figure it out.
They know.
Yeah.
And I always told my custodians that an emergency, that the definition of emergency is when you call me, you have smoke in your nose or your ankles are wet.
Yeah.
If that's not the case, it's not an emergency.
Yeah.
And they can figure it out. It's you can take the time, trust me.
Yeah. And we're starting to see some of the transition of people taking the time. The other thing it does, like Paul said, and keep this in mind, it's good therapy.
Yeah. And we need it.
It is, at the sake of my, my kids always calling me #boomer.
Mm-hmm.
This is the hardest time to do this job that's ever been.
Yeah.
And you see a lot of mental health struggles. You see a lot of depression. You see a lot of people leaving the job. It's a hard job. If nothing else from this event, you can go back to your district knowing you don't have to go it alone. You've made some good connections with people who are dealing with the same stuff, and you'll find people who have figured out a way to focus on the good, to make amends with the job, and know that not every day is easy. But how can I focus on the good that I'm accomplishing to balance off all the stuff that gets dumped on your plate every day? And it's powerful. I mean, it's life-changing.
Yeah.
If you can adjust your mindset, that's how you can be a successful public facilities director, because it's not easy.
Yeah.
So I think this is the point where I say, hey, Josh,
Yeah.
do you have a shout out this time?
Yeah, I do. I'm remote here, so I'm working on
A Google platform.
I'm working on a Google platform. Bobby says, thanks guys, always great listening to you all. David Gligo, matching underwear. Yeah, no, this is PG. I can't show you, but yes, I do, and I get those too. We can get anything. We got it all down on lock. I'm just trying to abbreviate my story here. But before I do, the massfacilities.com.
Yeah.
MASS facilities.com. Get more information. How do people get a hold of you directly?
Cell phone, 781-775-6131. Our email is exec@massfacilities.com.
Well, there it is. And if you are in Massachusetts, you're a facilities professional, you have to put this on your list. And when you say you're too busy, you have to know what you have for time. There's 168 hours in a week. That's just in 1 week. And you're working 52 weeks a year. We know that school facilities don't close. Your work is never done. If you can take 8 hours out of 1 day of 1 week and get there and network and go to the classes and talk to the vendors, I can tell you that it will pay dividends.
Yeah.
If you come and talk to me at my booth for our software company, I'll show you how to find that 8 hours and just making you more efficient. I can all but guarantee that. So you can't have a square wheel,
right,
and think about rolling down the street. So
and the other thing to keep in mind with this year, especially, is if you don't have time during the day, Expo is going to be open on Tuesday night from 5 to 8.
yeah,
You could come down for an afternoon and have some appetizers and walk the floor as well.
That's a good point. Is I don't know if you guys did that on purpose, but that you could end school for the day and
come and do a
drive down. Yeah.
And then you'll never want to go home, because Wednesday is the big day. Wednesday, there's a lot of activity going on. So if there is one day that you can make it down, I would say Wednesday is likely your best day. Well, no, Tuesday's going to be good too.
Sounds pretty good.
Tuesday's pretty good too. And Tuesday ekes into the Expo as well. So you can make a full day of it Tuesday too.
Well, I got to tell you, the story is cutting off on my phone. I can't pull it up on my computer because I have this, but it is about Heritage Elementary School, and it is talking about making a difference one high five at a time for National Custodian Day. He gives the students there a high five every single day. I think I talked about one of the custodians in Garland ISD over the summer. Christina Renault and I went down there. We met with the facilities professionals down there. It was 460 of them. And this one custodian came over and he said, "I have the greatest job in the world." And I said, "You do?" And I said, I'm not going to argue that, but what makes it so great? And he says, I am a custodian at an elementary school, and I sit outside the cafeteria every day, and the kids line up and they give me a high five as they walk in each and every day. And he said, and they tell me how great a job I do and how much they appreciate elementary kids.
Yeah.
Right. And so this story, while it's cut off, is at Heritage Elementary School. And basically that they came up with a high five celebration starting in October 3rd of 2022. So National Custodian Day is coming up pretty soon.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to get this full story. It's in Williamson County, but I think that with this upcoming, 3 weeks away, National Custodian Day, if you don't have something, and by the way, if you don't know there's a National Custodians Day, there's a day for everything. but you should know the special days that commemorate and celebrate your teams. You should do something, whether it's little, whether it's big, but also bringing awareness, which is why I like this story, was bringing awareness, not just to your team, but to your kids, understanding that there's some days. Talk about your why. It's not about the money. It's about a lot of the things that you don't see that happen every day, which is, high fives and handshakes and thank yous. So this has been another great episode. Kenny, thanks for
thank you.
opening up your doors. And I look forward to a very successful event. I'm sad. I haven't missed MFAA. I've never missed it.
You've always made portion of it.
Yeah. I've since 2004, I've made some or all of every single conference that you've had. This is going to be a some, sadly, not an all. I'm going to be taking planes, trains, and automobiles that week. I'm taking a red-eye flight from California to catch up on Tuesday. And then
I gave you the out. I said, dude, you do not need to be here.
Then I'm taking a train on Wednesday to DC. Yeah.
Nice.
And then I'm going to get on an Uber to get me to the hotel that I need to go to for a dinner, and then come back and miss the last day of your event. So I know it's going to be an awesome event.
Yeah.
I've got a whole crew. I got 4 or 5 of my team coming because I'm leaving, because they opened the window. They said, "Can we come?" And I said, "Absolutely. You need to be a part of this." Or some people like Paul have been to the event before and they can't wait to get back up here. And so Paul and Scott and Nancy, I think Pat's coming. We got a whole crew of folks that we're vested in the association and its success, and you should be too if you're not. And if you're a business official, ask, and your facility director isn't coming to this, ask them why, or tell them about it, because there's a lot of members that still don't. There's a lot of school districts that still aren't aware of what MFAA is. We're drawing long on this, but I want it all out there. There's a lot of districts that you guys haven't got. Not a lot. There's a good number. There's probably 50 or 60 schools out of the 373 or whatever that number is that aren't active members that are here. And it's a lot. It's probably a combination of a couple of things. They've been around a long time, and they never took a look at MFAA from when it was a small group of folks meeting in Cape Cod. It's new facility professionals that don't know where to look, and they just go to IFMA or they go to some of these large, which are great organizations, but not specific to schools, not specific to Massachusetts. There's just not awareness there. And so the support staff and the team, business manager, assistant superintendent, if you're listening, because we got a lot of those that listen, ask your facility director, are you going to MFAA? And if they say no, ask why not. And then support their effort to go, because it is important. And again, if they can this isn't an event that they have to come for the whole time. They can just come for a piece to just get your feet wet.
And being Massachusetts is so diverse, and I know we're up against the clock. Isn't that what you always say?
Yeah.
We have business managers that are facilities directors.
Yeah.
We have head custodians who are facilities directors for smaller districts. We have executive directors for charter schools who are their facilities directors.
If you're a leader in facilities in your school,
all are welcome.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you're in local government and doing double duty, come on down. So this has been awesome. Paul, you got something? I cut you off.
I got one thing to say. Let's do a high five. I want to see how the owl handles a high five. What's it look like?
The top does it, and that was a cool kickoff for the owl. The owl's coming with us to Missouri, and we'll be doing some more episodes, but that'll do it for this episode. As always, 5-star ratings and reviews we greatly appreciate. We hope that we deserve them. If we don't, let us know, and that's by paul@beawesome.com. If we do, just click on any of your podcast platforms. That's what helps give us visibility. My goal, Paul's goal, and our reach is to be in the top 3 or 4% of all podcasts by the end of this year. We're in, depending on what day it is, we're between the top 7 and top 10%. So we got a little bit of work to do, but that comes with listeners, viewers, and those ratings and reviews. So appreciate everybody that's done it so far, and hopefully we'll do some more. And this has been another great episode. And if you can be anything, be awesome. Keep up the great work.
Bye, everyone.
See you, everyone.